This is what it is, okay? I said empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend.
Hi, this is Jeet, and today it's going to be a philosophical breakdown between Bruce Lee and Kano Sensei. They are both highly intellectual men, contributed a lot. Bruce Lee was a filmmaker, a poet, a philosopher, and of course a great martial artist. Kano Sensei was an academic, a teacher, and of course a martial artist, founding his own school, the Kodokan. And they are both great philosophers, but yet their philosophies they do not match. They are polar opposite, and I would say one has drawn a very distinct and clear path, and one has drawn a clear and distinct path of self-expression that would otherwise be different when someone else does the same thing. Also, one was very big on kata and the other was very much against it. So this video I'm going to compare a little bit of their philosophies, some of their very famous quotes and historical achievements that really coil and define their philosophies and truly show how they are polar opposite. And at the end I'm gonna discuss a little bit about kata, because that is very important, because it is very important to understand that none of them are wrong. Everyone has their own tool of expression. For example, when you read about nihilism, when you read about stoicism, when you read about existentialism, Epicureanism, all of it, it's a way of thinking. You choose whatever suits your character, and maybe you combine a little bit of both philosophies, etc. Same thing with martial arts. No one is wrong. It's just how you choose to express yourself. So we can find value in both of these philosophies. So I'm going to talk about the pluses and the minuses of each and finish it with kata, because I do somewhat agree with Kano Sensei when it comes to kata. So when it comes to Kano Sensei, so he started jiu-jitsu around the age of 17 and founded his own school. It was a very clear and written curriculum, which is the Kodokan school, and now we call it Kodokan Judo. He wrote and defined the techniques like hand techniques, leg techniques, grappling techniques, choking techniques, etc. Very much like an academic curriculum, and he founded it, and now it is a very well-known style. Whenever you see someone doing a judo, whether it is on the ground or stand-up, you would know that this is judo. It is a discipline, that's the word, discipline, a path with its own clear expression. And this is what is clear about Kano Sensei, and he said something that really demonstrates his philosophy. He says judo is the way to the most effective use of both physical and spiritual strength. By training you in attacks and defenses, it refines your body and your soul and helps you make the true essence of judo a part of your very being. In this way, you are able to perfect yourself and contribute something of value to the world. This is the final goal of judo discipline. So it is very clear that it is a very distinct, drawn path, and also it is its own expression. So this is very different from what Bruce Lee wanted, because Bruce Lee said, I quote, this is a very long quote, and I'm gonna leave it as a pinned comment in the comments. So he said, I have not invented a style. We are talking about Jeet Kune Do, by the way. So I have not invented a new style, composite, modified, or otherwise, that is set within distinct form as apart from this method or that method. On the contrary, I hope to free my followers from clinging to styles, patterns, or molds. Remember that Jeet Kune Do is merely a name used a mirror in which to see ourselves. Jeet Kune Do is not an organized institution like the Kodokan that one can be a member of. Either you understand or you don't, and that is that. There is no mystery about my style. My movements are simple, direct, and non-classical. The extraordinary part of it lies in its simplicity. Every movement in Jeet Kune Do is being so of itself. There is nothing artificial about it. I always believe that the easy way is the right way. Jeet Kune Do is simply the direct expression of one's feelings with the minimum of movements and energy. The closer to the true way of Kung Fu, the less wastage of expression there is. Finally, a Jeet Kune Do man who says Jeet Kune Do is exclusively Jeet Kune Do is simply not with it, meaning that it is not a defined discipline like judo or sambo or boxing or whatever. So he continues to say he is still hung up on his self-closing resistance, in this case anchored down to reactionary pattern and naturally still bound by another modified pattern or a path in this case, and can move within its limits. He has not digested the simple fact that truth exists outside all molds. Pattern and awareness is never exclusive. Again, let me remind you, Jeet Kune Do is just a name used, a boat to get one across, and once across, it is to be discarded and not to be carried on one's back. So there is a lot to unpack here. He said that it is a form of expression. So you hear a lot of people saying that, or the famous quote of Bruce Lee, take what is useful, discard what is useless, and add what is essentially your own. So basically, do what works for you. It is a way of shaping your own self. Everyone has their own physical capabilities, mental capabilities, or mental expressions. Here he is talking about this in particular. See what works for you, add it to your own arsenal. Maybe depends on what you do in life, depends on what you want to achieve in life. So not everything is just I want to be good in MMA or I want to be good in Vale Tudo or whatever. Everyone has their own expression and their own needs. So one might train in fencing, for example, street knife defense or knife fights, and some boxing and stand-up grappling because they want to stay on their feet as possible and also defend some of the most maybe dangerous stuff on the streets like knives. One maybe want to go to MMA, maybe go to wrestling and Muay Thai and BJJ. So it really depends on who you are, what you want to be, and how to choose to express yourself. There is no one school and curriculum like judo or like a strict expression. When you see someone doing a particular technique, you know that they're doing this discipline. So for example, you see Bruce Lee doing all kinds of striking, fencing. He even participated in boxing tournaments. You see he also did fencing, and you see him do some judo in his repertoire. So he molded himself, chose a specific types of judo techniques and added it to its arsenal because he felt that that's what works for him. So a lot of people think that Jeet Kune Do is like some Wing Chun. You add some judo to it and some ground techniques, and that's or some fencing to it, and that's Jeet Kune Do, when in fact it is not a school like with a clear curriculum. Everyone has their own expression. It's a philosophy of how to express yourself, at least from what I read. For example, if you see like his old schools that he have founded, they were immediately closed down or someone took them to another direction and their own expression, and it became its own curriculum. It is no longer like Jeet Kune Do. And also there are schools that Bruce Lee himself chose to close down because he does not believe in like a strict form of expression, kind of like be water, formless, shapeless. So this is mainly Jeet Kune Do. It is a philosophy rather than a school like the Kodokan. Not saying that Kodokan does not have a philosophy. It does when it's talking about the three forms of education: the mental, the physical, and the moral, and also, being a better member of society, and also talking about, the yielding expression when they push you pull, and when they pull you push, etc. So there is a lot of philosophy when it comes to the Kodokan, but also it is a very strict curriculum, very well defined, because Kano himself was an academic. So none of them are wrong. However, I do see, nothing is perfect. For example, before I get to the kata, I just want to say this. When it comes to Bruce Lee, when someone doesn't know anything, my opinion, it is a very bit difficult to choose what you want and also how to express yourself and what is best for you. A lot of stuff that we see today can be very deceiving. We think they are something when in fact they are not, or they teach you something of this value, but it doesn't have that particular value. Not talking about just fake martial arts, but also talking about, for example, 20 years ago, boxing, at least in my country, was the end-all be-all. Now we know it is not. Taekwondo, same thing. In USA, it's wrestling. Judo is almost laughed at. So it really depends, like the culture you are living in and also what you want for yourself. Someone that doesn't know anything, in my opinion, I think they should do what Bruce Lee did. They should specialize in something, like him. He was an excellent striker, but as a grappler, he was, I would say, good. But then he started to add and, relinquish what doesn't work. For example, I have black belt in Aikido and now I'm training Judo religiously. So there are some stuff in Aikido that I can still use. I can still find that they can be useful for a street fight or whatever it may be. But there are a lot of stuff that I find that they don't work. Same with Judo. There are a lot of techniques that don't work for my body type, and I would just never use them in my life. Or maybe, when I'm in a different mindset or a different mental state, I might use them. So, in my opinion, you should specialize in something, make it your base, and then add to it and take what you want out of it. So, it can be very, I'm not going to say misleading, but it can be somewhat confusing to learn about Bruce Lee and then see, for example, you see in his book, you see he's adding like striking, fencing, and you see a lot of drawings of ankle picks, double legs, arm bars. So he was trying to put of everything, like the stuff that works, at least for him. So you have to choose what works for you, basically, and express yourself through the stuff and have like your own formula, and it will become like a distinct expression. Kano Sensei had like a school, first of all, unlike Bruce Lee, and also a strict curriculum. But I will say this, even in Judo, everyone can express something differently. I will do an Uchimata different than X or Y. I will do a Tomoenage different than X or Y. I will do a Seoenage different than or maybe like your arsenal of throws can differ greatly than the guy next to you in the same class. Same for the ground technique. So there is this freedom of expression within Judo because the curriculum that I talked about itself is huge. So, but it still would be very under the umbrella of Judo. There's no atemiwaza, there's no striking. The gripping very much would be considered Judo. The same for the ground. But when it comes to the ground, he chose the bare minimum, the essentials, the stuff that actually works, and you can pretty much survive in them anywhere in competition and also street self-defense. The osaikomi, how to pass guard, the basic closed guard and open guard. There's no stuff that are useless outside of the sport itself, like for example lapel guard and all these other things. So you can find a form of self-expression within Judo, but it's not a complete martial art, for example the striking, etc. But saying that, if it was Judo like this, there is no gi Judo, there is striking in Judo, there is kata, there is gi, etc., you would be jack of all trade and a master of none, basically. So in my opinion, being limited to throws and ground techniques and some kata for self-defense, or just having good form of technique, in my opinion, is good enough, because it will make you specialize in something, put you in a base, and then you yourself can add whatever you want. Maybe litway, maybe savat, maybe fencing, whatever it may be. But Judo as a base, it can be good in order to create this Jeet Kundo or Tao of Jeet Kundo that Bruce Lee wanted. Now finally, let's talk kata. Bruce Lee found them to be limiting, kind of like coloring between the lines, and putting a strict definition on yourself. So basically against what he was calling for. But this is from the technical standpoint, or as you are performing the kata. But Kano sensei did not see it this way. He saw kata not only as a way to perfect your technique, the basics like nage no kata, katame no kata, but also an expression of a certain philosophy like go no kata, ju no kata. They are different, and there are many katas, and each kata has something to teach you, an idea. You don't have to abide by this idea. You can choose the expression of this kata. Like I said, there is ju no kata, the soft form, and you have the go no kata, which is the hard form. So really it depends. You have to read a lot about ju no ri, how to be yielding, when to be strong, when to be flexible, etc. So it is a very distinct curriculum and philosophy, but it can be yielding and it can be hard, so it is flexible. So this is what's distinct about Kano's philosophy and what he took from the old Chinese intellectuals, basically. So, and formulated it into what is now called Kodokan Judo. So this is a very deep topic, and you can dive very deep into it, but the message is this: you can find in judo what Bruce Lee is trying to say in terms of your arsenal of techniques and your expression of judo, whether it is the grip fighting, the throws, the ground technique, top game, bottom game, etc. Kata, the same thing. You can try to learn what each kata is trying to tell you and apply it in your judo, in randori, and also the goal is to be a better citizen and create a better society. This is the ultimate goal. So I do believe there is a lot of value in both, and you can find a little bit of each in you can find a little bit of Kano in Bruce Lee's ideas, and you can find a little bit of Bruce Lee in Kano's ideas, the yin and the yang, basically. So this is mainly it. So if you have anything else to add, let me know down below. Also, don't forget, if you can consider supporting me on Patreon. I have exclusive content for the patrons only, and also don't forget to check out Josh Simon's shop for historical t-shirts and historical articles. This was Shadi, and thank you for listening.